everyone. So today we're just going to do an open-ended reading. We're going to see just whatever messages come out about your future husband. I wanted to do this because I really enjoyed filming the Who Will You Marry video in December, just to see what messages come through, you know, give Spirit a little bit of breathing space to tell us, you know, whatever it is that they want to share about your future husband. Okay. And a big thank you to my guides and your guides for coordinating these messages. Group 1. Who will you marry? Your future husband. What do we need to know? Group 1. And we'll do all uprights today, I think. So we have the Hanged Man here. And should probably turn him the right way. We've got the Ace of Pentacles. Also, if the shuffling takes a while, I may cut out a little bit. We've got the Ten of Wands. Ooh, and we have the King of Wands here. Okay, so a lot going on already. Your future husband is definitely someone who has a motto that if I want something done the right way, I have to do it myself. You know, like this is someone who has a little bit, I wouldn't say a control issue in the sense that they try to control other people or their surroundings, but more so that they have a really hard time asking for help, receiving help, or even just working in a team environment stresses them out because their work ethic, their drive, their passion is so much more intense than the average person's that they just really, really struggle in a collaborative group environment, you know. If someone's not pulling their weight, they're not going to go back and forth with somebody, you know, like they're like, I'll just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. And because of that, so much of their life is tied up in their work, in their career, because they don't share that responsibility. I really very strongly feel like this person owns their own business, or they're in a really high up position where, you know, they don't answer to a lot of people in their workplace, because it really, I mean, it does. It has like the energy of a boss, you know, and someone, you know, if we're thinking about like, if you're a bit older watching this and you're like, why haven't I met my future spouse yet? This may be the answer to that question, because this person hasn't really been very focused on their interpersonal relationships. They've been more focused on their work. Now with this Hanged Man, this suggests a change in perspective, and that they're starting to realize that there's more to life. And this Ace of Pentacles is kind of making me think that this person is starting to recognize that wealth is more than just money and financial stability and security. It's about connection, you know, and so they're starting to understand that this isn't going to fulfill them forever. You know, they need a little bit more. I was actually watching an interview with Drake, and he was talking about, you know, selling his property in California and building a home in Canada. And he used to live kind of like in like a compound. Like he had so many people living on his property, and you know, he was talking about living on his own, you know, in this huge mansion, you know, he built in Canada. And you know, having this change in his day-to-day where he's drinking espressos in the morning and, you know, just making one song a day and then waiting a couple days before he started to get back in the studio, instead of, you know, full throttle, working all the time, living this rapper lifestyle. And, you know, he's talking about talking to a therapist and things like that. And I'm kind of getting that vibe from your future spouse of starting to slow down. You know, they're still working very hard. They're still, you know, having a lot of goals and doing a lot of things, but for them, you know, compared to how they were working before, they are slowing down and they're trying to approach life in just a slower way. To them, they're slowing down. I think other people would still say they're very busy, but they are trying. They are trying. So if you're kind of wondering the timeline for when you meet your future spouse, I would say that it has to be getting closer because they're slowing down. They're having this change in perspective. And it does feel like divinely orchestrated. It does feel like they had some kind of experience that kind of woke them up to this idea that I don't want to keep doing this forever. Like, there has to be more to life. There has to be more to life than this. You know, it's kind of like they've accomplished so much and they're kind of looking around and saying, who do I share all of this with? You know, like, what is the point of all of this? It's almost like going back to and like romanticizing that time when they were hustling, when they were on the come up, you know, and now they're kind of sitting at the top looking around, you know, this King of Wands. Well, I've made it, but there's nobody by my side, you know, and I think there's a little bit of a loneliness here too, because there's kind of this energy of this person being so successful that it's kind of alienated them from others, because it kind of gives this feeling that other people are almost tired of celebrating this person's success. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't really, it's kind of just so, it's almost like normal for this person to win that other people are like, yay, congratulations, you know, but they're not really, I don't know if other people are finding it hard to be happy for this person because they're so successful that, you know, at this point, like, the more that they achieve, it's like, well, what else is new? Or if it's kind of just, I don't know. I almost wonder too if your future spouse saying like, you know, I kind of feel lonely, if other people are like, yeah, but, you know, go cry in your heaps of money that you have over there. You know what I mean? Like, if other people kind of invalidate your future husband's feelings because they're like, yeah, but you have that huge house and all that money, so, you know, come to me when you have a real problem. You know what I mean? Or other people may say like, well, what do you expect? Like, you work all the time, so, you know, of course you're alone. You know, I kind of wonder if other people are just like, you know, you created this circumstance for yourself. You know, I don't know, I just feel like this person, they don't have a lot of people providing them a lot of emotional support. And, you know, it may also be that your future husband isn't good about opening up how they're feeling. And so, you know, that could be, if you're not there for other people, you can't really expect them to be there for you, you know? And so it kind of feels like your future husband for a long time didn't help others and didn't ask for help from anybody else, like a kind of a lone wolf kind of thing. It's kind of giving an energy of like it's lonely at the top, you know? And yeah, I think that happens sometimes too with wealthy people, where it's like, okay, yeah, I get it, you're having some mental health struggles or you're feeling lonely or isolated, yeah, but I can't make rent and I'm trying to get food on my table, so I don't really have a lot of energy to give towards you right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it kind of feels like. You know how celebrities were complaining during quarantine that they had to be stuck in their like mansions? You know, other people were like, you know, you need to get over it because the, you know, like, read the room, the rest of the world is really suffering right now. That's kind of like what it feels like. Yeah. And that may even be why your future husband feels guilty about opening up about this feeling of loneliness and isolation, because there is this feeling of, I did it to myself, you know, like, I canceled plans on people, I was hard to reach, I was always busy, I did it to myself, you know, I pushed people away. Let's see what else we can get. I'm just really feeling, I'm using like 3 different tarot decks today. I just love the tarot. I love a good oracle deck, but I just love the tarot. Okay, we have the Fool. Yeah, it does feel like things are moving along in terms of spirit preparing this person to meet you, because they really are trying to make some serious changes. They are trying to make some serious changes. I kind of feel like your future spouse is quite jaded, and they're sort of a reformed cynic, like they're on that journey. You know, they're trying to be less jaded. They're trying to be less suspicious. They're trying not to have so many trust issues, because I also think as this person has accumulated this wealth and this success, other people may have tried to take a piece of that pie for themselves. You know, they may have encountered people who were interested in them romantically because of their financial position rather than because they genuinely loved your future husband. And so I feel like they're working on that. They're working on being more open. The Ace of Cups, yes. I mean, this is like preparation. The Fool and the Ace of Cups next to each other, to me, is your future husband is preparing for new love, preparing themselves for dating again, opening up again. And I feel like a big part of this is them actually taking time for self-care, working on themselves. They could be seeing a therapist, you know, they could be really doing some inner work, trying to figure out, you know, why have they had this past avoidance? Why have they developed these trust issues, and how do they resolve them? So I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of work being done here, because I think also there probably was a point in time where your future husband realized that they were working too much, realized that, you know, they were quite lonely, they weren't happy, and instead of facing that, they just kept themselves even busier because, you know, they know that they can put time into their work and get, you know, this material reward. They will be rewarded for their efforts, whereas, you know, when they've maybe taken time out in the past for love, they got burned. You know, so it's like, well, why would I invest in other people when I'm just going to get screwed over, when I can invest in myself and my work and continue to make more money and achieve all of these goals? And so, yeah, I feel like they have finally come to this place of reckoning and realizing that they can't continue to avoid how they've been feeling deep down, and they do actually need some social support. They actually need some love in their life. They need a partner. And I would say too, this person may be starting to look at legacy and this idea of wanting children, wanting someone to maybe carry on their business, or wanting to have a child so they can sort of teach that child what they have learned, you know, this desire to yeah, like really have a family, I think. Now, if you're not wanting kids, that message may not be for you. Yeah, this Nine of Wands, it is a struggle though. Like I've said, like they're in the process of this. They're in the process of it, you know, and that's natural, that's understandable. It's not going to be an overnight thing, because they're making, like I said, a really huge shift here, a really huge shift. And honestly, with the Hanged Man being here, you know, this is the card before the Death card in tarot, and this idea of, you know, literally waiting for death, and this idea of our life flashing before our eyes and getting this moment of clarity, this epiphany moment. I wonder if your future husband had a health scare, and that was that moment of reckoning, this moment of coming to terms with, wow, you know, maybe I've been living my life in the wrong manner. You know how they say, like, if you're not preparing for wellness, you're preparing for illness. I wonder if your future husband was like, you know, I've been working myself to the point of burnout. I really do need to take some time and evaluate what is truly important in life. And, you know, maybe, I think your future husband is kind of looking at it like, I'm assuming I have all of this time, but maybe I don't. And, you know, kind of just starting to understand what is truly precious in life. And, you know, I do think that they're feeling better now with this Ace of Cups and this Fool card. Whatever that, if there was a health scare or something like that, you know, that has resolved, but I feel like that was intentional. You know, that was the divine intervention to push them to start making some changes, you know, in how they've been living their life, you know. And with the Nine of Wands, it is still an adjustment, you know. That workaholic kind of tendency doesn't go away overnight, and yeah, they're still grappling with it, but they are making progress. Let's get some more information on your future husband here. I'm just seeing someone meditating in the morning or taking more walks outside, actually sitting down and enjoying like their cup of coffee in the morning without checking their email, you know, turning their phone off after a certain time, like starting with small changes and then building up. That's what I'm seeing. Any more information we can get, please, Spirit, on Group 1's future husband? We've got the Sun, and we've got the Strength card here. So we have really double Leo energy. So your future husband could have a Leo placement that's pretty significant in their birth chart. So think their sun sign, their moon sign, their rising, Venus, Mars. But anyway, so I feel like this is actually your future husband kind of recalibrating what they think of in terms of their masculinity. You know, like what they view as being a strong, independent, competent person. I feel like they're starting to see the other side of it, and this idea that strength can come from having the courage to be emotionally vulnerable. You know, I think maybe they had a difficult relationship with their father, or maybe they had an absent father, or maybe they it could just be like a general like cultural thing where they thought that they had to act in a certain manner or carry themselves in a certain way to really be like a man, you know? And so maybe sometimes that bordered into toxic masculinity. And so now they're kind of coming back and being a more authentic version of themselves and saying, you know what, like I don't have to put on this facade of being strong all the time. You know, even if it's just as simple as them thinking that it was weak to cry, and now they're kind of understanding like, no, that's like a normal human reaction to things that are sad, traumatic, you know, like that's a normal process of grieving a loss, you know. And so I feel like they're kind of becoming more comfortable with being open because, you know, Leo rules the heart too. And with the Sun card here, the cat just being open, like this idea of opening up. And so I definitely think this is them attuning to what is actually going to make their heart happy and, you know, not just relying on their logical mind. So they are becoming more comfortable with their feminine side, which I think is going to be really beneficial when they meet you and when you two are in a relationship, because you don't want to be with this reserved person who cannot express their feelings to you and cannot cry in front of you and cannot, you know, share their past or their emotions. I mean, it's like dating a brick wall, you know. You don't want to be in that kind of connection. And so, you know, it's like they're gaining strength and becoming familiar with their own emotions instead of repressing them. And I think also too, this person's getting better about expressing when they feel angry without cutting people off, because I do think that maybe they did that in the past where, you know, instead of just having a conversation with somebody, they would maybe blow up, stop talking to that person. And so I feel like they're just becoming a lot more emotionally intelligent, a lot more mature about how to process things in a healthy way and how to resolve conflicts in a healthy way. And I do think that there's a lot of anger that your future husband has had to process, because I do think that people have really tried to take advantage of them financially. Quite honestly, that keeps coming up. You know, people it's I mean, you can't blame your future husband for being angry, because it's like the same people who give them a hard time about working too much are the same people who just expect a handout and just expect them to give away their money and their resources to them, but then don't give them anything in return. It's like, you want to spend all my money, but you want me to be here with you all the time. I can't do that. You know, like, where do you think this money comes from? You know, like, I've got to work for it and you're just blowing through it. And this sense of entitlement, you know, to this person's resources, I think has really irritated them. Because there's this energy of like, I can't win for losing. And this may be a parent that tries to take advantage of, you know, your future husband, you know, like maybe, again, going back to that maybe absent father, you know, now they see their son is grown and successful, they want to come around and get a piece of that pie, but they weren't there for them and continue to not be there for them. So yeah, that's just kind of the energy that I'm picking up. You know, it may be an issue with their mother, it may be an issue with, again, like past exes and how they were treated in that manner. It's a general reading, so it's going to vary, but I do think that this anger that they have is justified and it's understandable, and you know, it's just a process. It's something that they're working through. Okay, let's move into your oracle. I don't really have a set plan for this. I'm just kind of rolling with it. I'm not gonna lie, I got this deck for one card, like one card. I think it was the home card that I thought was so pretty in this deck. I can't find it, but it'll be funny if that card actually comes out. Also, for those of you who have been watching my readings for a while, the orange stray kitty cat that I feed outside, he or she is walking by, so floofy. I'm so happy because I don't know if it's a he or a she, but they're looking plumper, and that makes me so happy because they were looking pretty sickly before. Okay. Group one. Good luck. I feel like this may actually be the cause of animosity too, that your future husband has kind of had to deal with. I'm not gonna lie, like, they have their fair share of haters, you know? There are definitely people who are kind of envious of your future spouse, as I think that people who are not doing as well in their life, people who are a little bit more insecure, kind of look at your future husband and say, well, they just got lucky, instead of acknowledging their talent, how hardworking they are, how smart they are. You know, it's just easier to say, oh, that person got lucky, you know, or, you know, that person is privileged because of X, Y, or Z. Yeah. I feel like your future spouse is very discerning about their social circle and who they let in, and they definitely can just isolate themselves so quickly because they have some trust issues. I feel like, you know, it's more than just romantic. When I say trust issues, I don't mean just trust issues in romantic partnerships. I mean they have trouble trusting people in general. Like, there is this feeling of them being jaded, you know, because, again, I just feel like they've been burned a lot. They've had people really try to take advantage of them financially, and it's just, I think your future spouse used to be a very giving, very generous person. We have that Leo energy come through, right? Leo's a very generous energy, but, you know, over time, the more and more you see people take advantage of you, lie to you, mislead you, I mean, of course you're going to pull back. Of course you're going to pull back. So I do think that your future husband may have had a love language of gift giving, but I feel like they've kind of tried to set better boundaries with that because, you know, they're starting to understand that not everyone has the best intentions, unfortunately. Okay, let's get maybe one more card here. Lighten your load. Yeah, no kidding. Like, that's kind of the general theme This is really harking back to the 10 of Wands and the 9 of Wands, right? And there's a lot of fire sign energy. I don't know if I've made that clear or not, but Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, all of that, that fire sign energy I think is quite significant in their birth chart, or that's the energy that they're most comfortable in. And I also feel like your future spouse could be quite well traveled. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but I do think they could be well traveled. And that could be a thing too. Like if you're on the road a lot, you know, and you're not always close to home, that could also create some distance, right, with like family and friends. But with this light in your load, this is really their current energy. Like this is what they're really trying to do. They're really trying to cut back, learn to rest, learn to take a vacation, learn to relax. I mean, it's just a process for them. And I think they're also starting to learn how to prioritize what's really important. And I think a lot of the things they thought would bring them happiness, the things that they have been chasing, this idea of success that they've been chasing, hasn't really fulfilled them in the way that they expected to. And that's a hard pill to swallow. A hard pill to swallow. Like imagine dedicating so many years of your life to achieving certain dreams and goals, and then getting to that, you know, mountain peak, you know, finally getting to that place of success that you always dreamed about, and then looking around and not feeling fulfilled by it, you know, not feeling as good as you thought you would. And that's kind of, you know, what's happening for them. And so they're looking around and they're like, well, what now? You know, what now? What now? And I think, you know, it's just this idea of I've achieved all of this stuff and I have no one to share it with. And I have very little people around me who are genuinely happy for me, and I feel lonely. And that's kind of where they're at right now. So group 1, this was your reading. I hope that it brought you some clarity on who your future husband is, and, you know, gave you a little bit of insight, I think, in terms of timing too, and why, you know, maybe you haven't met this person yet. Yeah, I think that's it so far. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you always know when I upload. The easiest way to support the channel is to watch the ads. You can also do like the SuperThanks tip jar if you want to. Obviously, you don't have to. A huge thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel thus far, and I will see you all in my next one. Hey group 2, welcome to your reading. So I wanted to do just an open-ended reading. I really enjoyed filming the Who Will You Marry video in December, so just wanted to give Spirit some breathing space to tell us whatever they want to about your future husband. So let's get some messages here. Group 2, a big thank you to my guides and your guides for coordinating these messages. If the shuffling takes a while, then I'll cut it. I'll cut some of it out. And we're doing all uprights today, just because that's the vibe that I'm on. So we've got the Ace of Swords and the Chariot card. We've got Strength. Okay, group 2, we have the Ace of Swords, the Chariot, the Strength card. We have the Ace of Pentacles, and your bottom of the deck was 4 of Wands. Okay, So I kind of get this feeling that your future husband is actually traveling at this time or considering making some sort of big move. It kind of feels like they have gotten a job opportunity or a job offer somewhere else, and they're contemplating whether they're going to move there. But once they do, that will be kind of, I'm hearing like the domino that sets off the kind of like chain reaction to them meeting you. So that doesn't necessarily mean that where they're moving to is where you live, although that would make, you know, a lot of sense. But it could be, you know, your future husband lives in another country and they're moving to your country, or they're moving to your state, or it could also mean that they're moving somewhere where they're going to meet someone that you know, and there's only so many degrees of separation away from them getting to know you through that other person. So you see what I mean? Like, there's some sort of domino effect. You know, there are some moving pieces here. It kind of gives a feeling of an arranged marriage, but an arranged marriage by spirit, you know, like divinely orchestrated here. And it gives this feeling too of your future spouse normally wouldn't have considered moving, but some things have happened. You know, like there's some stuff that has gone down that has made them want a change. Like they're itching to leave. They just need to get away. This feeling of like, I just need to get away. I just need to change. I just need something new, something new. And I mean, to get two aces here, they're definitely starting a new chapter. And, you know, the way these are depicted here, right, it's something coming from the heavens, something appearing from nowhere. And so it does feel like a gift from the divine that is pushing them, you know, for this move. And it feels like a blessing in disguise, right? Like some bad stuff has gone down that has made them want to leave, but it's actually a gift. Like, you know, like be thankful that these other things fell apart, you know, that these other unfortunate things happened, because this is pushing you on the path towards meeting you, group 2, you know? So yeah, there's some dominoes that are going to be falling down a path that's being laid out here towards this marriage with this 4 of Wands here. So, and I'm also drawn to the fact that just the way these two women here are, I don't know, it's kind of just making me feel like things are being set up so that you'll have this mutual person in common that's going to introduce you, to your future husband. It's actually making me think, okay, this lady that I used to work with, her husband is from Australia. And he was over here, you know, with just a temporary work visa. He wasn't supposed to be here long. He was supposed to, you know, stay at this branch of the company, get trained in something, and then go back to Australia. And while he was here, a friend of a friend, you know, through this, you know, new work placement, introduced him to his future wife, the lady that I worked with. And so they went on, you know, a couple dates, fell in love, and then he ended up marrying her and staying here. But if he had never came over here for that temporary work thing, if he had never met that other person and that other person happened to know the lady that I worked with and all this, they never would have fell in love and got married and all this. So that they're reminding me of that, of like just setting up this chain of events that, you know, once the first thing starts, it knocks down all these other pieces that are falling into place. And also with dominoes, you think of something falling apart to come together, right? And so some things have gone wrong, you know, or seemingly have gone wrong because, it's, you know, it's again that blessing of disguise. But yeah, so I think when you meet your future husband, they've been through some stuff. You know, they're going to tell you, you know, some things fell apart back home. And so that can be a good confirmation for you if you're like, is this my future husband? Because it kind of feels like, am I getting ahead of myself? You know, if they, you know, if you're someone who just second guesses your feelings and stuff like that, that could be a really great confirmation that, okay, yeah, like this is it. This is my future husband. Okay, let's get some more information. I wanted to use, I'm using 3 different tarot decks today because, I don't know, I just prefer the tarot. I like a good oracle deck, but I was just in the mood to use a lot of tarot cards today. Okay. Group 2. Can we get maybe a little bit more information about what's gone down? Like what has happened? Or what will happen soon? We've got the High Priestess. Let's see. Uh-oh. We've got the Hermit. Sorry, a card fell on the floor. Let's get one more. The King of Pentacles. Okay. Definitely something work-related, because that, I think, is what is pushing them to move. You know, so something has happened within their workplace that didn't go according to plan. So maybe they were up for a promotion and they didn't get it. And they're like, you know what? I deserve better than this. I should have gotten that promotion instead of, I don't know, the boss's son. So I'm going to look for, you know, a new job that's actually going to pay me what I'm worth. Or it could be like maybe they had maybe certain plans that they were going to start looking for a house, but then the housing market where they live just kind of went wonky, and maybe they realized they could get more bang for their buck if they moved somewhere else. Something like that, something in relation to either their work or their finances or their material, you know, security has pushed them to move. Also with the High Priestess, it was something that they were certain. They felt so certain about it, like so sure in their gut that this thing they had been planning was going to go through. Like, again, it really does feel like maybe like a work promotion or something like that. Like they thought it was like a surefire thing and then they didn't get it. You know, maybe they had even applied for jobs and they were wanting to maybe move into a different field or something like that, and they thought for certain they were going to get this job, and then instead they get a job offer somewhere far away and they're like, what? So yeah, with the Hermit there though, this is indicating to me that move that they're going to make. So they are going to be moving somewhere far away where they don't have friends or family in that area. So they are going to be quite far from home when you actually meet them. With the Nine of Pentacles being at the bottom of the deck though, this is a great financial move for them. So wherever it is that they're moving to, whatever the circumstances are, it's going to greatly improve their finances. So they could be moving to a more affordable area. They could be moving and, you know, accepting a job that's going to pay a lot more money. So there's definitely going to be an increase in their finances. The King of Pentacles is someone who is very well off. So also, I don't think I mentioned this, but this is Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn energy as well. So I feel like your future husband really is a very practical person. And I think that that is part of why Spirit orchestrated things the way that they did, because they know at the end of the day, the money is really like what matters most to your future husband in terms of where they live. Like they want to feel financially stable and secure and in a good place, you know. This is someone who enjoys their luxury items. This is someone who enjoys the finer things in life, and they don't care if they got to move somewhere far away from friends and family to achieve that, you know. Like this is, you know, like they really put a big emphasis on their material wealth and stability, and, you know, I mean, maybe for good reason. You know, it could be that their family just isn't that close to one another, or, you know, maybe they just don't have a lot of family that's living, and they're like, you know what, I can make friends in a new place, like whatever, you know, like I can call and text people from back home, I can FaceTime with them, no big deal. You know, I think at the end of the day, this person really just puts a big emphasis on stability and security. And I think also too, they do have a lot of self-confidence. They definitely know their worth, and they're like, if I'm not getting paid my worth, or if I'm not getting the respect that I need in my current like working environment, then I'm just gonna go my own way, find something better, find a place where I am appreciated. You know, like this person isn't the type to stay in a job that isn't compensating them fairly. So yeah, I feel like your future husband may have been a victim of like nepotism, because it really feels like if they were up for a promotion or something like that, or, you know, a certain job opportunity, they were well qualified for it. With the King of Pentacles, like they have the knowledge, the experience, the work ethic. You know, this is someone who is an overachiever for sure. And so, you know, if they didn't get it, it wasn't because they didn't deserve it. And we also have Virgo energy with the Hermit card, so definitely Earth sign energy is significant. I need more information about Group 2's future husband. We've got Judgment here. We've got the Fool. The Fool card came out in Group 1 as well. And we have the Empress. This is definitely what they're seeking in a partner. So they're going to see you in this light. I'm definitely getting the energy of someone who is like well on their way to becoming an emperor. So the king of all kings, you know, that kind of energy. And they're looking for their divine feminine counterpart, you know. They may not phrase it in that way because this person feels very grounded. And I feel like this is the type of person that isn't necessarily religious or spiritual in the sense that they would watch a tarot card reading or, you know, something like that. But I do think this person unintentionally maybe uses like the law of attraction, or they're really big on, this is the type of person who would make like a vision board without even like necessarily like meaning to, you know what I mean? Like they just set certain goals for themselves, they hold that vision, they may you know, post like a motivating quote and save that as their like screensaver on their computer or their phone or something like that, and not see that as a vision board, you know what I mean? But it kind of functions in that manner. I think that they really pay attention to signs and synchronicities too, but again, they wouldn't phrase it in that way, but they are very intuitive. You know, they're, you know, it's like, I'm psychic, but I don't know it, you know? Like they definitely will have a vision in their head, and then that vision will come to pass. And they kind of just put it on like, that's because I'm really hardworking and I'm really smart, and all of that is true. But I feel like they don't see it as them co-creating with spirit, or, you know, by the grace of God, I'm here. Not to say that they're ungrateful, but they kind of look at it more like someone in the universe, some sort of higher power is betting on me, and that's a smart move because I'm capable and I'm smart. And, you know, like this person definitely, you know, they're a little bit, I don't want to, they're a little bit overly confident sometimes. But I also think that they're very grateful for what they have achieved, you know. I just think that they don't always necessarily give credit to the universe where credit is due, you know. Yeah, this person is definitely of the mindset that if you want anything in life, you have to work hard for it, and that's the end of it, you know. But I definitely think they're very motivational and they're very inspiring in that way as well. But they are quite traditional too. I started to say this and then I got off track with the Empress card here, but they are quite, you know, traditional. They see themselves as the provider, and that's who they are, and that's how they ascertain their own value, you know, is how can I provide for others. And so they really definitely want someone to pamper a little bit with that Empress card. You know, they're looking for someone who's gonna stay at home and handle the affairs around the house while they go out and make the money. You know, like that's kind of the dynamic that they're seeking. I don't know necessarily if that means that they wouldn't want you to work. I think that they would be supportive of like a creative project or maybe like a side hustle or something like that. But if you're someone who wants to work full-time and give everything to your career, I don't know necessarily if this is your group, because it's coming through quite strongly that, you know, your future husband wants someone who's gonna be the mother of their children and is gonna stay at home and kind of fulfill that role with the Empress card here. And I think also too with Judgment, there is, here's the word that I was looking for before. Your future husband has a bit of a bravado to them, where I feel like they talk a big talk. This person's going to be very charming, very charismatic, very engaging, but I think that they don't like to show their softer side, and part of that bravado comes from this insecurity. You know, like if they are if they have some kind of setback and they don't achieve a certain goal, or they you know, don't make a certain amount of money, or you know, something like that, it really cuts them. You know, like that is really how they measure their self-worth, is in their achievements and how successful they feel. And so they just don't like to show that side to themselves. You know, they don't want to ever seem weak. You know, they really have kind of this tough outer shell, and I think they cushion their ego by saying how, by being able to show how successful they are. You know, like using money as this kind of barrier around themselves to, you know, or even just certain accolades or certain titles that they may hold to kind of, you know, shelter their ego a little bit. It's reminding me of a lyric from an old Kanye song where he says, using Instagram to crowdsource my self-esteem. I feel like your future husband may do that at times, where, you know, they kind of look on social media and see where other people are at and then compare that to where they're at. And I think that that's probably something they really need to work on. No one's perfect, you know, but you know, I think there is a little bit of a self-worth issue here. And I think maybe with this Empress energy, you're meant to help them with that, and maybe change their perspective on what it means to value yourself and to show them that, you know, their worth is inherent. You know, it's not based upon their success level or what they can do for other people. So acts of service and gift giving could definitely be love languages for this person. With the Fool card here, I wonder if that's part of it, that domino effect that I was talking about. Like, it may be Spirit kind of pushing them to this limit. Like, it kind of gives this energy of someone who's like always been a winner. You know, like someone who's always just achieved everything, been super successful, and then they have some kind of setback. They have some kind of disappointment where they don't win. They don't come out on top. Someone else gets the prize, you know? And it just decimates, you know, their self-worth, because it's like this Jenga tower, you know? It's like a little bit shaky. Like if you externalize your validation and yourself, if you look towards external validation, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. If you look towards external validation through, you know, money and success and achievement, eventually you're going to fail, because you're a human and we all have failures, right? We all encounter that at some point or another. And that Jenga tower is just going to crumble. And so, you know, you really have to love yourself regardless of how productive you are, how successful you are, how much money you have in the bank. Like your self-love has to be continuous. Like it just has to be for your own mental health, you know, like you just have to love yourself. And so I think they're going to have to learn that lesson, and that's going to be part of the journey that carries them to meeting you. You know, and to being ready for connection with you. Okay. So, let's do the Oracle cards now. I didn't mean for this reading to turn into like what they need to work on, but it kind of is, which is all right. I mean, I'm sure you watching this have stuff you need to work on too, just the same as I have stuff I need to work on. Okay. Sometimes that makes me a little bit sad in the comments when I see people have such strong reactions. It's rare, but sometimes I'll see comments where people are like, my future spouse seems like a loser, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you 100% perfect? Like, I'm sorry. Like, maybe that's why, you know, like you're not married yet. Like if you have that expectation that some other person is supposed to be perfect, they may be perfect for you, but perfect in general? No. Like, nobody's perfect. Like, you can't have that expectation. Not to say that you have to settle either, but, you know, we all got stuff. We all have shadow aspects, you know? Aww, we've got love and we've got commitment. I'm so happy that these cards came out because, I mean, this is it. Like, this is what they're being prepared for. This is what you're being prepared for. So if you have a fear of divorce, you know, if you're worried or maybe have some apprehensions about marriage, this is really coming through and reassuring you that your bond with this person is a lifelong bond. You know, like this is going to be a love that endures. This is going to be a committed relationship. This person's going to be faithful to you, loyal to you, honest to you. They're always going to look at you and say, that's my partner, that's my teammate. And I do want to reassure you that even though they do kind of ascribe to these traditional gender roles, does not mean in any way that they will devalue your contribution to the relationship. Like, they will see you as their true equal. And I think if anything, they may put you on a pedestal a little bit or, you know, romanticize you a little bit. But yeah, they're just going to adore you. And yeah, there's no fear here about this person straying or this person being unfaithful. They're very honest, very trustworthy. And I think the part of the reason why they work so hard is because they have a big heart and they want to be able to give and to share everything with the, you know, the people that they love. And you're going to be at the center of that. It really feels like to me like you'll be the center of this person's world. You'll be their number one. You know, as hard as they work, they will still prioritize you and the marriage, and they will really put a big emphasis on that. And I will say as well, this person's not afraid of starting over, you know. So if it ever came to a point to where, you know, you were like, you're working too much, or what you're doing for work isn't, you know, is somehow detrimental to our marriage or something like that, they would be like, okay, babe, like, then we're just gonna figure out a whole new setup. We're gonna, you know, reorganize our finances, and we're gonna figure out a way that I can be at home more with the kids, or, you know, like, I mean, like, this person is very flexible because they're so confident in their ability to make money and their ability to provide. So if you were to sit down with them and say, like, I can't handle you like traveling so much for work, or I can't handle your work hours, your work schedule, they'd be like, okay, we gotta reconfigure this and figure something else out. You know, like, they're just not afraid of starting over and, you know, just kind of finessing, you know, they're very confident. They're very confident, and they, yeah. I feel like with judgment too, like, I want to be very clear that this person will provide you the love that you deserve. And with the Fool card too, this indicates that they will be someone new. I feel like that was kind of obvious, but just to make it very clear, they're going to be someone new to your life. You know, this isn't an ex or anything like that. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all the messages that I'm getting for this person. I hope it provided you some clarity and some insight, and I hope the reading resonated. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Hit the notification bell and you will always know when I upload. The easiest way to support the channel is to watch the ads. A huge thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel thus far, and I will see you all in my next one. Take care, Pile 2. Hey Group 3, so let's find out what we can about your future husband. I just wanted to film an open-ended reading and give Spirit some breathing space to share whatever they wanted to share with us. A huge thank you to my guides and your guides for coordinating these messages. So let's find out Group 3. And we're going to do all uprights today because that's just the mood that I'm in. Ooh, starting off with the Knight of Wands. We've got the Ten of Wands. This card also came out in Group 1. We have the Fool card. This card has come out in every single group. Not always with this deck, but it has come out in all 3 groups. We have the Six of Wands. Okay, a lot of fire sign energy. And your bottom of the deck is Temperance. So Temperance is associated with Sagittarius. So given that we have 3 fire sign cards, and then we also have Sagittarius with Temperance, they definitely could have a Sagittarius placement in their birth chart. So think probably Sun or Moon, Venus or Mars, because this is a love reading. But okay, wow. Wow, this kind of seems a little bit similar to Group 1, I'm not going to lie, but I think as it stands right now, your future spouse is undergoing a lot of success in their career and they're doing their best to keep up. I would say the difference between this group and Group 1 is that Group 1's future husband was already, very well established in their career, whereas your future husband is like blowing up as we speak. Like they are just encountering a lot of success really quickly and they're just trying to keep up. And this is something that is something totally new for them. So it kind of gives this energy of someone leaving their like 9-to-5 traditional job and, starting a business or, making their side hustle their main source of income and just having all of this unprecedented success and just trying to keep up, just trying to keep their head above water. Like they didn't expect to have this many customers or this many orders, like they're maybe having to get an assistant, maybe having to hire more staff, maybe having to get a larger workspace. There's just a lot of success coming in really quickly with them. And with the Temperance card here, they're just trying to keep up, and I think also with Temperance, it can also talk about being mindful of certain vices. And so, if you think about it, when we're working really hard, maybe we're not eating the best or, maybe we're not taking care of ourselves the way we typically would, So I feel like your future husband is trying to get a new routine down to where, they can still work out and they can still get enough sleep and they can still eat healthy meals. You know what I mean? Like the day-to-day stuff, or spend time with their pet, or spend time with their family, their friends. You know, they're trying to figure out a new schedule for themselves that will help them still maintain and acclimate to this new level of success. I also think because they have so much money coming in, there is a temptation to spend more. And, you know, especially to, you know, if they're maybe feeling a little bit of stress, you know, a little bit more pressure to maintain this level of success, they may make themselves feel better, you know, with a little bit of online shopping, or, you know, just maybe like mindlessly spending money because they're rushing around from here to there, you know, maybe eating out more, and that can be a strain on finances, you know, over time. So stuff like that, I feel like they're just trying to figure things out. But I mean, the good news is that they're in a really exciting time period of their life. You know, like their dreams are coming true, which is really beautiful. Okay, I was in the mood to use a lot of tarot today, so we're going to use the Pulp Girls Tarot deck next. Also, with the Fool card being in the center here, this can also indicate Aries energy, just because this is the first the first card in the major arcana, and then Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. I feel like during this time, your future spouse is like simultaneously feeling more confident because they, you know, are achieving more than what they ever thought was possible. But then at the same time, they're experiencing some insecurity too, because there's that pressure to maintain it, With the Star card here, this could indicate that they're doing something that puts them in the limelight. So this could be like they have, you know, some staff that has to answer to them. So like they're the boss. So, you know, people tend to pay attention to whoever their boss is, right? This could also indicate a career that is related to social media, or a career that involves, like I said, like the limelight, you know, them being a star in some way. The Star card can also indicate that this is a dream that they have been working on for a long time, you know, and this is something that they've put in the work, and then they blow up overnight, you know, and so it feels like overnight success, even though this is something they put, you know, years of effort into. I think it was Lizzo with her song, Truth Hurts. Like, she made that song a long time ago, and then it wasn't until after the song had been out for a long time before it actually blowed up and caught on. So it's like maybe they put something out there, you know, it didn't get a lot of reception, and then a couple months later, a couple years later, it just blows up, you know, and that success just propels them, you know, into a whole new career path. We've got the Tower. Yeah, I mean, everything is shaking up in their life in the best way possible. You know, it's like there's so many good things happening for them, but it's overwhelming. You know, it's shaking up their entire day-to-day routine. Like, everything is different. Everything is changing, and they're just doing the best that they can to acclimate. I mean, with Temperance and the Star card coming out, both of these cards talk about trying to find a balance, right? We've got the Seven of Pentacles. This is confirming what I said before, that this is something that they worked on for a really long time. Like, they were really patient. And I think that's what creates this feeling of pressure, because if you put so much time and effort into something and you wait and you wait and you wait, and everyone tells you, you should just give up, you should just give up, and then you finally get your big break and you finally hit all of this momentum, like, you want to ride that wave, like, you don't want to fall off of it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. Yeah, Page of Pentacles, like, their finances are going from like a 0 to 100. Like, they are just really finding a lot of success right now. And not to say that they were, like, you know, poor before or anything like that, but the level of financial success that they're achieving right now is not something they've ever come close to before. Like, they're hitting so many goals right now. Yeah, okay. The Five of Pentacles is coming out. So yeah, they've had their struggles in the past. This kind of gives the energy of like a struggling artist who like finally makes it big. You know, like that's really, because I feel like what they were doing was something that a lot of people would say, oh, you're never going to make money in that. That's not practical. That's not practical. You should give up your dream. You should give up your dream. And they didn't. Like, they kept pushing through. And, you know, maybe they did whatever they had to do to make ends meet in the meantime, but they were still low-key, you know, working on their goal. And then, bam, you know, they have that big break. Okay, I'm getting a little extra tarot for you, just because I feel like it. Okay. Oh, yeah, I was wondering when the Eight of Wands was going to come out, because that really is, like, everything you prayed for happening overnight. Like, you're just being slapped in the face with, like, all of this positive change, but it shakes things up, you know? With the High Priestess and the Queen of Swords, this tells me that this is something that your future husband knew. In his, like, heart of hearts, he knew deep down in his gut, like, I'm made for this. This is what I'm made to do. This is what's gonna make me happy. This is my purpose, and I don't care. Like, if anybody else understands it, I don't need to justify myself to anybody. This is my dream, and I'm not letting it go. And thank goodness they were stubborn about it, because they are now finding their success. And with the Queen of Swords, it makes me think of speaking things into existence. And I feel like that's exactly what they did, is that they just kept believing in themselves, kept praying on it, kept believing in it, and it manifested for them, you know, because they continued to take that inspired action. They continued to hold their vision. And I wouldn't say that they're necessarily like into the law of attraction and stuff like that, but more so it makes me feel like they just continued to tell people, I am going to make it. Like, no matter how much people tried to put them down or dissuade them from following their dream, they were like, no, like, I'm gonna keep at it. I will be a success. I will meet my goal. I will do it. I will achieve it. And there was just no room for doubt in their mind, you know, like they couldn't afford to doubt it, because they had put so much time and effort into it that they couldn't make space in their mind for doubt. You know, it's like, I have to keep moving. I have to keep pushing forward. You know, there was just this inner drive, this calling that they were answering, you know. This is someone who would say, like, I am a writer. I am a musician. I am, you know, whatever it is. You know, like, I am that. I am an entrepreneur, you know, like, I was made for this. I know this. So it's something that they're very passionate about, for sure. Okay, let's see, anything else? We've got the Emperor. Yeah, like, this is someone who is definitely well on their way, you know, to achieving. I don't think they're quite at this level yet, because like I said, it's like all of this success is just hitting them, but I don't think it's going to be very long, as I think that momentum's just going to keep building and building and building. And so I definitely feel like they are well on their way to not only financial security, but financial abundance, of being just also in a position of power in their own life. They're going to have the ability to make their own decisions, and I think the money is going to give them the creative freedom and the space to continue to pursue what they love on their own terms, which I think is what they've always wanted. You know how, you know, like, when artists start out, they, you know, are kind of just trying to make, let's use the example of a musician. So, you know, they get signed to a label, and they have to show the label that they made a wise investment. So that debut album has to hit a certain number of sales, and so you know, they really try to work hard to make the label happy and to appeal to a certain audience. But then after they have become more established in their career and they have a couple of, you know, successful albums under their belt, then they have the space to decide that maybe they're not going to tour as much, or, you know, maybe they're going to do a more experimental album instead of making an album that's going to appeal to the masses and chart really well. They can explore different genres and go out of their typical wheelhouse and experiment more, and just do creative things. I'm thinking of, you know, when Beyonce released her self-titled like visual album, and then after that she went on to create Lemonade. You know, like, it's very clear she's just doing things that feel right to her rather than to, you know, chart well necessarily or things like that. And they ended up being some of her most critically acclaimed work, right? Like, that was a moment in pop culture, a moment, and something that we all still probably remember, right? So yeah, it kind of gives that energy of, you know, that's what they're working towards, is, you know, not only having the financial success, but eventually having so much success that they have the artistic license, you know, the creative, like, freedom, you know, to experiment in their work. Okay, let's continue onward. So this person may actually end up being a little bit famous. I mean, like, I think definitely well known in whatever field that they are going to be in. Temperance again. Honestly, that can happen sometimes too, right, with artists. Like, when they get big and they start to have a following and they start to have fans, and, you know, sometimes that can lead to like indulgence, especially like if you have a lot of money coming in and you're not used to it. You may be a little bit frivolous in your spending, or you may not know how to handle like that much money coming in, and you may want to celebrate and party a little bit more, or yeah, just kind of buy the things that you always wanted to buy but would have felt guilty spending on before. Like a new wardrobe, stuff like that, or, you know, like flashy designer things, or like status symbols, or even maybe gambling a little bit. But I think it's really just about not letting all the success go to their head and still being like responsible. And the Emperor is someone who's very responsible, so I kind of feel like this is a temporary energy for them, but it has come up repeatedly, so I do feel like we need to accept this, that they are in a process of finding a balance and learning how to manage their money and learning how to not let themselves overindulge, you know, in the things that all of this new money can buy. Okay. All right, let's see. We've got the High Priestess again. Isn't that kind of funny? Like, she's covering up. So this could actually, this could even be your energy too. Like, they're attracting, like if you feel like you identify with like a mystic energy, or you really feel in tune with spirituality and you like to live by your intuition, things like that, this could signal that they are like actively attracting you right now, whether they realize it or not. And this could also just signal, though, that your future husband is someone who really does like live by this idea that there is a higher power, there is something outside of themselves, there is a greater plan, because I feel like you have to have some kind of faith, you know, to follow the path that they have followed and to continue to believe in themselves. I feel like you do have to have some kind of faith, because Temperance can also talk about grace. And so I definitely feel like they are guided by this principle that there is some greater plan in place and there is a path for them, because again, like they would say, this is my soul's purpose. Like, they feel so strongly about what they do. It's not just a job to them or just a career to them. It is their life. It is something that, you know, they're very passionate about. Okay, And then we also here have the moon, which I think again symbolizes the faith that they have had, because their path hasn't been the easiest one. It really does like make me think of a lot of those celebrity stories that they tell in interviews. There's been so many, like I think Oprah had talked about, you know, like just having this moment where she just had to surrender and she almost gave up, and then that was when she got the part in like The Color Purple. Or Ellen DeGeneres had talked about, you know, like being alone in an apartment, and I think she had like a breakup or something like that, and then it was like everything in her life had fallen apart, and then bam, she made it big. And one of my favorite stories, actually, Drake had talked about in an interview where he had been looking up pictures of like just Google images, like the best residential pools, because he always had this dream of having a massive house with like a huge pool. And so he had like saved a picture of that pool on like his desktop screensaver. And then when he had moved out to California, he had been looking for that house, and he found it, but I think it wasn't for sale or something like that. And then years later, it was for sale, and the person who owned the house was in a bad place financially and had listed the house for like 20-something million, and then Drake ended up getting it for, I think, I don't know, less than 10 million. And he was like, basically, I stole it from him. Like, you know, so like things lined up exactly so for him to get the house that he had looked at years ago and had saved a picture of on his computer. Like, how wild is that? So it does remind me of those like celebrity stories and interviews. And I apologize because I know I'm missing a lot of detail. I don't remember, but there are a lot of stories about that, where celebrities talk about almost giving up or everything in their life being terrible, and like having to have faith and just believe that it was gonna happen for them, and then magically it finally fell into place for them. And with the moon card, that's the energy that I'm picking up, that they've had a lot of like downs, they've had a lot of challenges, but you know, they just kept their faith. And it kind of makes a lot of sense too. Like, if you haven't met this person yet and you're wondering like, why am I not with them? Why haven't I met my future spouse yet? My future husband? Where are they? I think that they would have been so focused on accomplishing this dream that they probably didn't have the space, like mentally or emotionally, to give too much to a romantic partnership, because they were so focused on, you know, achieving this big dream that they had. And now that they've found success in that and they're, you know, trying to adjust to it, it would make sense that, you know, now that they have accomplished this big goal that they had and they're, you know, now just continuing to grow it rather than trying to build it from scratch, they would now have more time and space once they get adjusted, you know, to dedicate to a romantic partnership. Okay, so let's get the oracle cards now. I'm like really curious. Like, I know it's gonna vary because it's a general reading, but I wonder like what it is that they do. Like, you know, are they on social media doing something like that, or are they a writer? Like, what do they do? Okay, I know it's gonna vary though, so I'm not even gonna go into that. We have happiness here. They're feeling good. I mean, they are on like cloud 9. This is really wanting to come out. With the friendship card, this may end up being friends to lovers. It could also signify that friendship is really important to this person, And so they may feel like their friends are their family. So you may find that, you know, what their friends think of you is actually really important to them. Whoops. Okay, we've got fertility here. To me, this is signifying that this person, or confirming for us that this person does work in a creative field. This could also signify that this person does want to have children one day. Let's just get some more like quick little messages. Any final thoughts, Spirit? Protection here. Yeah, don't worry about how this is going to come to pass, to be quite honest with you, because it does feel like this person is being saved for you. Like, you know, it feels like your connection is being divinely guided, divinely protected. Yeah, it feels like there's a soul contract in place here, like you are meant to be with this person, and, you know, it's going to happen when it's meant to be. And I know people don't like to hear that, but it is what it is. We've got grieving here. I do feel like it's kind of funny. I think this happens sometimes. I may have talked about this before in a tarot reading, but I've noticed it sometimes in listening, especially to like music by rappers, where they kind of romanticize or idealize the time when they were hustling, and then when they finally make it to that, like, you know, big goal that they've been wanting to achieve, it kind of gives this energy kind of similar to group one of it being lonely at the top, and, you know, kind of looking back at sort of the magical time of, you know, being like almost close to making it big but not quite there yet, and romanticizing simpler times. And I mean, you just hear it sometimes, I think in music especially, of, you know, remember when, you know, like I used to eat ramen every night, remember when, you know, like it's just some kind of weird phenomenon. And I think that when the money comes in, and it comes in that quickly, and there's all of these eyes on you and all of this attention on you, you can kind of look back and miss your privacy, or miss the simpler times when, you know, you didn't have all of this money and trying to figure out what to do with it. Because sometimes, especially like if you come from very humble beginnings, and it definitely feels like your future husband is self-made, it doesn't feel like they come from money, or if they do come from a privileged background, their family may have cut them off or said, like, we're not going to support you if you continue, you know, to try to be a musician or something like that. Like, you know, that's impractical. We're not going to support that. When you're ready to get a real job, call us. You know, like, that's kind of the vibe. But yeah, I feel like they may not know what to do with all of that money. They may not know how to invest, or, like, you know, how to secure their future. And so that's just something they're going to have to learn. And yeah, I think they may kind of look back and miss that simpler time, and kind of romanticize or feel a bit nostalgic about the past. And I think it's just because they're adjusting, you know, there's a lot of changes going on. Okay, bottom of the deck we have passion. So that's not surprising at all. Not at all. Like, this person definitely lives from their heart space. No one can tell them, like, it's not like group 2 had a little bit of a cockiness to it. Like, with your future husband, it's just more of this, like, certainty in their bones that they were made to do this, and they were given this talent for a reason, and they were meant to do something with it. And they just clung to that belief, and they're like, you know, if I can't do this, then I don't want to do anything, you know. And actually, Lana Del Rey had talked about this in an interview too. Like, it just reminds me of a lot of celebrity interviews, like this whole reading does, where she had talked about essentially cutting herself off from every other possible avenue, like burning all of her bridges, so that she had to make it in music, or there was no other option, because she had, you know, essentially quit everything else. And, you know, she kind of had to create a scenario where it's like either I go all in on this thing or nothing, you know. And so she just gave 100% of herself to her music and to making it happen because she believed in herself. And she didn't care how many times, you know, she had to reinvent herself to make that happen. And that's how passionately your future husband feels about their work. And I feel like there's someone who just wants to get the most out of this human experience. Like they want to, you know, just live life to the fullest, and they don't want to look back at their life and have all of these regrets. You know, they would rather try and fail a million times than never try at all. And so they're gonna bring that same passion, that same intensity to your marriage as well. Like they are just gonna love you, I think, with a depth that you've never experienced before. And, you know, I think if you're worried that you're gonna be secondary to this person's work, I wouldn't have a fear about that, because with this protection card here, it does feel like you'll come into their life at the right time, and when there's enough space for you to exist in their life, you know, when there is room for you in their life. And I feel like they will fall in love with you in the same way that they fell in love with their craft. You know, whatever it is that they do, whatever it is that their talent is, whether they're a musician, an artist, an actor, whatever, they will love you in the same way that they love their work, which is to say a lot, because we've been talking a lot about that. And they will also feel the same way if you have a family and if you have children with them. They will they will nurture your children in the same way of like just encouraging them to be whatever they want to be and to follow their dreams no matter what anyone says. You know, like they really want to, there's a feeling of like wanting to instill that, because they didn't get that from their own parents. Their own family didn't support them in the way that they had hoped, and so they would want to give that to your kids, this idea that you can be anything you want to be as long as you're willing to hold on to that dream and do what it takes, you know, to make it. Okay, Group 3, this was your reading. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Hit the notification bell and you will always know when I upload. The easiest way to support the channel is to watch the ads. Thank you all so much to everyone who's been supporting the channel thus far. We've been growing a lot lately, so I'm very excited and grateful for that. And thank you all so much for your patience as well, you know, with the changes with the filming schedule. And yeah, thank you all, and I will see you in my next one.